Hello, Sarah Sabin, Executive Leadership and Intuition Coach here. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how what got you here won't get you there. And in other words, how to get through a self-imposed glass ceiling. So I work with high achieving senior executives, and to the objective outside observer, every single one of them would be classed as successful. They might not class themselves as successful by comparison to the goals that they set for themselves, but objectively they are. Now, when I'm talking about a self-imposed glass ceiling, what I mean is they have not got to where they want to get to, i.e., they are further behind in regards to their own benchmarks and goals that they've set themselves, and they're having trouble breaking through that glass ceiling. Now, often what I find when I look into this with someone is that they are trying to do all of the same things that got them to where they are, and they're still doing them and thinking that that should get them to the next level, but it's not. So, again, that could be a knock in confidence. But there is something really important to realize, and I mentioned it at the beginning of this video, what got you to here won't get you to there. So in order to up level and get to those really big goals, something else will be required of you. And like everything that I talk about, it will have an internal and an external component. So starting with the internal, it can be that the things that used to motivate you internally aren't kind of doing that anymore. I've done a whole other video on motivation and how it's actually completely overrated in terms of success. So feel free to go and watch that video if you want. But going back to the internal piece, it may be that one of the internal motivators to get you to where you are was a parent never making you feel like you were good enough. It could be that you set out on a drive to prove everyone else wrong. So everyone said you couldn't do this, and you were like, no, no, I can. Hello, that was my main motivator up until probably about 10 years ago now, or maybe even less. And what you find is that these motivators, which are comprised of thought patterns, emotions, and belief systems, are holding you back from getting to the next level. I.e., you need to think, behave, and believe different things to get to where you want to go. Because essentially, if you want to be the top of the top, you have to be able to see yourself as the top of the top, which is no longer so much about proving everyone else wrong, so much as grounding into I'm the best of the best at what I do and I deserve to be there. So it's a change of the neural pathways, which changes the belief systems, which influences how you show up, your actions, and therefore your habits and behaviors. Then you've got the external piece to this, which is as important as the internal piece. So you're doing all of the same things that you've done before in order to get to the next level, and you're wondering why it isn't working anymore. So in order to get up to senior executive level, you need to be technically and functionally competent. You need to be able to manage a team. You need to be able to get results. You need to be reasonably good at communication. And here's the kicker with that. That's not going to be enough to get you to the top of the top levels. So I often have executives that I ask them, do you network? Do you really build and forge relationships with the individuals that can help you to get ahead in your company? I know that most of the time the answer will be no. They're like, I should do it more, but I'm just not doing it. And therein lies the problem. They're very happy to network and build relationships and do communication in order to get their job done and to move their team along. But when it comes to doing something for themselves and strategically building those relationships, they find excuses not to do it. And then when they don't get the results they want, they might say things like, oh, well, it's been a hard year for the firm. This happened, that happened, the other happened. And I say to them, okay, so did no one else get promoted? And they're like, no, they did. It's much easier to blame external circumstances than it is to take radical responsibility for you and your actions and not doing the things that you should be doing. And this is in no way to blame anyone, but just to say that if you take self-responsibility, you have control to change the situation. So there are various external components that would be applicable to getting to the next level, varies from individual to individual. Networking is often one of them. Another example is going from good to exceptional communication. So exceptional communicators have the power to influence people, have the power to engage people. And as you can imagine, it is incredibly helpful when you are trying to up level to be able to do that. So strategically finding ways of really building upon communication skills and other essential leadership skills is also a big component of getting to the next level, and one that often gets pushed to the side in favor of developing other skills. So I encourage you to ask yourself, if you're not where you want to be, what are the internal, so thoughts, emotions, belief systems, motivators, and the external things that you're not doing or developing that are holding you back from the next level? Because once you identify them, you can start building a plan for how to do the things that you actually need to do.